What's the real cost of arrogance? For Tiffany Vance, a model with a $20,000 handbag and a cutting remark for everyone, she was about to find out. She was the girlfriend of a hotshot CEO, dining at the most exclusive restaurant in the city. When she saw the simple waitress, Ellie, in her $20 polyester uniform, she saw a bug to be crushed. She humiliated her, mocked her, and finally assaulted her. But she didn't realize one thing. She wasn't mocking a waitress. She was mocking Evelyn Rostov, the billionaire queen who owned the restaurant, the building, and her boyfriend's entire company. The hum of L'Étoile d'Or was a finely tuned orchestra of quiet wealth. It wasn't the clatter of plates and loud chatter you'd find in a diner. It was the subdued clink of heavy silverware on bone china, the crystalline sing of baccarat glasses, and the murmur of voices discussing million-dollar deals and European vacations. The air itself smelled of old money, truffles, and a faint floral perfume that seemed to be pumped through the vents. To survive a shift here, you needed more than strong legs. You needed the poise of a diplomat, the memory of a supercomputer, and the hide of a rhinoceros. Ellie, Table 4 needs a decant on the 98 Lafitte, and Table 7 is asking about the Wagyu sourcing. Don't tell them it's from the Hyogo prefecture. Tell them it's from a private, sustainable farm we partner with in Hyogo. Use the script, said Mr. Bissett, the maître d'hôtel. His face was a permanent mask of polite anxiety, his tuxedo so stiff it could have stood on its own. Yes, Mr. Bissett. On it, Evelyn replied, her voice the perfect blend of deference and competence. Here she was, Ellie, the reliable, quiet waitress who never made a mistake. Ellie, who earned $14.50 an hour, plus tips that, in this place, often exceeded a normal person's weekly salary. Ellie, who lived in a small, nondescript apartment downtown and took the bus to work. But in the world outside this 3 Michelin star bubble, she was Evelyn Rostov. Evelyn Rostov didn't take the bus. She owned a company that was developing next-generation electric public transport. She didn't live in a small apartment. She owned the entire brownstone, along with several others in London, Paris, and Hong Kong. And she certainly wasn't Ellie. The press, in their lazier moments, had dubbed her the Billionaire Queen, or the Ghost of Wall Street. At 34, she was the sole anonymous owner of Aura Capital, a private equity and venture capital firm so vast and silent, it was more myth than corporation. Aura Capital didn't just invest, it consumed. It bought distressed assets, fledgling tech, and, as of 6 months ago, the entire Golden Spire hospitality group, which included L'Étoile d'Or and 20 other high-end properties. And it was rotting. The spreadsheets and reports that hit her desk showed profits. But the data, the real, human data, was screaming. Employee turnover was at an all-time high. Anonymous reviews from staff cited a culture of fear, of managers who placated abusive high rollers and threw their own people under the bus. So, Evelyn had done what she always did. She cut her hair, put away her bespoke suits, and went to see the rot for herself. She'd been Ellie for 3 weeks. "Hey, Ellie," whispered Sarah, another waitress, as they passed each other by the sommelier station. Sarah was a single mother, with a quick smile and eyes that were perpetually tired. "You good? You look 1,000 miles away." "Just thinking about the wine list," Evelyn lied with a smile. "That 98 Lafitte isn't going to decant itself." "Tell me about it. I've got a 5-top of tech bros on table 9 who just asked me if our caviar is responsibly unalived. I swear I'm one stupid question away from screaming." Evelyn laughed, a genuine, warm sound. "Hang in there. Only 4 more hours." "4 more hours," Sarah muttered, balancing a heavy tray. "That's half a babysitting bill." Evelyn watched her go, her smile fading. Sarah was a good person, a hard worker, and the system was breaking her. Bissett, for all his precision, managed with intimidation. The kitchen was understaffed. The uniforms, a cruel joke of cheap, scratchy polyester, were demeaning. This was the rot. This was what the spreadsheets never showed. She grabbed the 98 Lafitte from the temperature-controlled cellar, her mind already calculating. The Golden Spire acquisition had cost $2.8 billion. The systematic failure in its management culture was costing her more. It was costing her good people. As she returned to the floor, Bissett intercepted her. "Ellie, you're moving. Table 11. A VIP. He's the CEO of Apex Innovations, Michael Thorne. Apparently he's a very important client." Evelyn's antennae went up. Apex Innovations. She knew that name. Aura Capital had just finalized a hostile takeover of the fledgling tech company 2 weeks ago. It was a messy, aggressive acquisition. The board had been cleaned out, but the CEO, Michael Thorne, had been kept on conditionally. His name was on a file on her desk, flagged for redundancy review. "Of course, Mr. Bissett," Evelyn said, her voice smooth. "He's with a guest," Bissett said, his lip twitching in a way that suggested the guest was difficult. "Be perfect?" "I always am," Evelyn said. She walked toward table 11, the best table in the house, a secluded booth overlooking the city lights. A man in a sharp, aggressively modern Tom Ford suit was staring at his phone, his face pale and stressed. But it wasn't him who spoke. It was the woman across from him, a cloud of blonde hair, red lips, and a dress that looked like it was sewn from diamonds. She was tapping a blood-red, inch-long fingernail on her water glass. Tap, tap, tap. "Excuse me," the woman snapped, without looking up. "How long does a girl have to wait for a simple glass of champagne? I asked for it 10 minutes ago. Does no one work here?" Evelyn stopped, placing the wine cradle for table 4 on a nearby stand. "My apologies, ma'am. I'll be your server for this evening. I'm just taking over this sec—" The woman finally looked up. Her eyes, a cold, piercing blue, raked over Evelyn from head to toe. It wasn't a glance. It was an assessment, an appraisal, and the verdict was clear. Disgust. "You," she scoffed, a laugh falling from her red lips. "Oh no. No, this won't do. Michael, look at this. Is this what a 3-star restaurant calls service? They're sending us the help." Michael Thorne didn't look up from his phone. "Tiffany, please," he muttered, his thumb swiping manically. "Just order. I'm busy." "I am busy," Tiffany snapped back, her voice rising. "I'm busy trying to have a nice evening, and I have to look at this." She gestured at Evelyn. "That uniform, it's just sad. Polyester? Really? You probably bought that at a gas station." Evelyn stood, her face a perfect mask of professional calm. Inside, the billionaire queen was taking notes. Evelyn kept her posture relaxed, her hands clasped lightly in front of her. "My name is Ellie, and I will be your server. May I start you with that champagne? We have a wonderful Tettinger Comtesse by the glass, or—" "Stop," Tiffany said, holding up a hand. The massive canary-yellow diamond on her ring finger flashed, catching the light. "Just stop talking. First of, Ellie, what, were your parents too poor to afford a full name? Second, I don't do by the glass. That's for people like you." She leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that was loud enough for the next table to hear. "I'm Tiffany Vance. You might have seen my Vogue cover, or my new perfume line. Envy?" Evelyn's face remained impassive. "I'm afraid I haven't, ma'am." Tiffany's smile faltered, replaced by a sneer. Of course you haven't. What would you read? Waitressing for Dummies. Just get us the most expensive bottle you have. Something I can pronounce and you can't. This was the moment Michael Thorne finally looked up from his phone, his face a mask of pure stress. He was handsome in a generic boardroom and gym way, but his eyes were bloodshot. "Tiff, for God's sake, be nice," he hissed, glancing around. "This is an important night." "It is an important night," Tiffany declared, throwing her hands up. "We're celebrating. You just closed that huge deal. You're the CEO. You're a king. Why are we being served by a peasant?" "Ma'am, I can assure you, I am perfectly capable of—" Evelyn began, but Tiffany cut her off. "Oh, I'm sure you're capable. You're capable of writing down what I say. Let's see if you can manage that." She looked at Michael. "Babe, what was that wine you told me about? The one that costs more than her car?" "Tiff, I don't care. Just pick one." "Fine, I'll do it myself. Just go back to your important phone thing." She turned her icy gaze back to Evelyn. "We'll have let's see, the Romane Conti, the 2005, and 2 appetizers, the Ode to the Sea platter. And no, what are those? Prawns. Ugh, tell the chef to use lobster instead. I don't eat poor people's shrimp." Evelyn didn't write it down. She didn't need to. "An excellent choice, Ma'am. The 2005 Romane Conti. And you'd like the kitchen to substitute lobster on the platter. I will check with the chef to see if that modification is possible." "Don't check," Tiffany snapped. "Just make it happen. That's your job, isn't it? Making things happen for people who matter?" Michael winced but said nothing. He was staring at his phone again, his brow furrowed. He hadn't made eye contact with Evelyn once. He hadn't even seen her. To him, she was just part of the furniture, a silent, polyester-clad cog in the machine of his celebration. Evelyn gave a slight, tight-lipped nod. "Very well. I will inform the kitchen of your request." She turned, her movements economical and precise, and walked away. The moment she was out of their sight line, she let out a slow, controlled breath. The rot wasn't just in the management. It was in the clientele they cultivated, the kind of person who thought CEO meant king, and that a king deserved to have servants, not staff. She found Mr. Bissett at the host stand. "Mr. Bissett, Table 11 is requesting a substitution of lobster on the Ode to the Sea. Chef's policy on that is—" "No, absolutely not," Bissett said, not looking up from his reservation chart. "The platter is balanced. The chef will have a conniption. Tell them no." "The guest is insistent," Evelyn said evenly. "She is with Michael Thorne of Apex Innovations." Bissett's head snapped up. "Thorne? Why didn't you say so? He's a Golden Spire Black Card member. He's important." Bissett's eyes darted around. "Give her whatever she wants. A whole dancing lobster if she asks for it. Just keep them happy. Do not lose that table." "And the wine?" Evelyn asked. "What about it?" She ordered the 2005 Romane Conti. Bissett actually turned pale. The $18,000 bottle? Is she? Are they serious?" "She seemed very serious," Evelyn said. "My God. Okay. Bissett was visibly sweating. "The key for that is in the main safe. I'll have to get it. You just go and, I don't know, pour them some water. But use the Blasson crystal, not the standard." "Yes, Mr. Bissett." As Evelyn retrieved the heavy, sparkling crystal water goblets, she felt a cold anger settling in her stomach. Bissett's entire management philosophy was placate the rich. He was willing to throw his chef, his staff, and the restaurant's own policies into the fire, all to bow down to a Black Card member. A Black Card membership that Evelyn's own company had issued. She returned to the table. Michael was now pacing a few feet away, his back to the table, speaking in low, urgent tones into his phone. "No, you don't understand. The deal is done. I don't know what Aura Capital is playing at. Just tell the board to wait." Evelyn's hand, holding the heavy water pitcher, didn't so much as tremor. Aura Capital. Her company. So Michael was on the phone with his board, who were clearly panicking about their new, silent owners. This wasn't a celebration. It was a desperate man trying to hold on to his kingdom. Finally, Tiffany sighed as Evelyn approached. "I'm parched. Did you get the wine?" "Mr. Bissett is retrieving it from the cellar, ma'am," Evelyn said, pouring the sparkling water with a steady hand. Well, I suppose it takes time to dust off a bottle that old." Tiffany watched her, a predatory gleam in her eye. She was bored. And a bored Tiffany Vance, Evelyn was learning, was a dangerous animal. "You know," Tiffany said, leaning forward, "my boyfriend. He's a very, very powerful man. A CEO. Do you even know what that means?" "It means Chief Executive Officer," Evelyn replied, her voice flat. "It means he's the boss." Tiffany laughed, a high, tinkling sound. "He's the top, the king, and I am his queen, which means when I'm here, I'm the queen. And you," she said, tapping a red nail on Evelyn's arm, "you're just a servant." Evelyn didn't flinch. "Is there anything else I can get for you while you wait, Mom?" "Yes," Tiffany said, her smile widening. "You can tell me. Do you even dream? Or do people like you just, sleep? I bet you dream of a life like mine. A handsome CAO, a fat bank account, Vogue covers. But you'll never have it. You're plain. And you're poor. It's a sad combination, isn't it?" The insult was so juvenile, so cartoonishly evil, that Evelyn almost smiled. She had been called many things in her career, a shark, a phantom, a ruthless visionary. But plain and poor were new. "I dream of getting your order correct, Ma'am," Evelyn said. Tiffany's face darkened. The smile vanished. "You're a smug little thing, aren't you? All high and mighty in your little polyester apron. You think you're better than me?" "I haven't thought about you at all, ma'am," Evelyn said, and the words were out before she could stop them. They were the truth, and they landed with the force of a slap. Tiffany's jaw dropped. Michael, hearing the shift in tone, hung up his call and hurried back. "What's wrong, Tiff? What is it?" This bitch!" Tiffany gasped, her hand flying to her chest in faux outrage. "She just insulted me. Michael, she called me. She implied I was stupid." "I did no such thing, Ma'am," Evelyn said calmly. "Michael, are you going to let her talk to me like that? Do something." Michael looked at Evelyn, his eyes full of a frantic, weak anger. He was a man cornered, stressed by his board, and now his girlfriend was creating a scene. He needed a target, and Evelyn was the easiest one. "What's your name?" he demanded. "Ellie, sir." "Well, Ellie, sir," he spat, mimicking her politeness. "You just made a very big mistake. I am Michael Thorne. I spend over $100,000 a year at this restaurant group. I am going to have your job. I want to see your manager. Now." "Right," Tiffany chimed in, crossing her arms, a victorious smirk on her face. "Go get your little boss, little girl. It's time for you to be fired." Mr. Bissett arrived at the table, his face already composed in an expression of profound apology. He had seen the storm clouds from across the dining room. "Mr. Thorne, Miss Vance, is there a problem this evening?" Bissett asked, his voice a smooth, practiced balm. "A problem?" Tiffany shrieked, making several other tables turn. "We have a massive problem. Your waitress just insulted me. She was rude, she was disrespectful, and she basically called me an idiot." I am deeply, deeply sorry," Bisset said, bowing his head slightly. He didn't ask what was said. He didn't ask for Evelyn's side. He immediately turned on her. "Ellie, what did you say to Miss Vance?" "I merely answered her questions, Mr. Bisset," Evelyn said, her voice still. "Don't lie, you little rat," Tiffany snapped. She was being smug. She's got an attitude. I can't stand an attitude from the help. I want her gone. Fire her. Do it now, or we're leaving, and Michael is pulling his black card account. Michael, who had resumed his frantic texting, nodded. She's right. The service has been appalling. We're trying to celebrate, and this person has ruined our night. Bisset's face went from pale to ashen. The idea of losing a black card member was, in his small, terrified world, the apocalypse. "Ellie," he said, turning to her. His voice was low and shaking with fury. "Go to the back, now. You are suspended for the rest of the night. Clean out your locker." He had fired her. Just like that. No questions, no investigation, just a summary execution to appease the king and his queen. Evelyn looked at Bisset. She saw a man so broken by the system, he was now a willing cog, a man who would sacrifice his own staff to protect a bottom line he didn't even profit from. "No," Evelyn said. The word was quiet, but it landed in the luxurious silence of the restaurant like a grenade. Bisset's eyes widened. "What? What did you say?" Tiffany's jaw dropped. Even Michael looked up from his phone. "I said, 'No, Mr. Bisset,'" Evelyn repeated, her voice gaining a strength that Ellie had never possessed. "I will not be going to the back. I will not be cleaning out my locker. And I will not be suspended because this woman is having a tantrum." "A tantrum?" Tiffany shrieked. She was on her feet now. "You insignificant! Nothing! Who do you think you are?" "And you, Mr. Bisset," Evelyn continued, her gaze locking on the manager, "have just failed your final test. Sacrificing your staff to placate a bully. That's not management. That's cowardice." You're fired," Bisset sputtered, his face turning a blotchy red. "You are trespassing. I'm calling security." "Good," Evelyn said. "Call them. Call them right now." At that precise moment, as if summoned by the sheer drama, the sommelier arrived, wheeling a small, reverent cart. On it, nestled in a velvet holder, was the 2005 Romanée Conti. It was $18,000 of liquid history, and it was about to become a projectile. Tiffany saw the bottle. Her eyes, which were already wild with rage, narrowed into slits. She saw her celebration ruined. She saw a lowly waitress defying her. She saw a way to end this, to put the servant back in her place, in the most definitive way possible. "You want to know who I am?" Tiffany snarled at Evelyn. "I'm the one who matters. And you—" She grabbed the bottle from the sommelier's cart. "Ma'am, no!" the sommelier gasped, reaching for it. But he was too late. "You," Tiffany repeated, "are trash." She didn't just pour the wine. She didn't just spill it. She flung it. In a high, arching, dramatic spray, Tiffany Vance emptied the entire $18,000 bottle of Domaine de la Romanée Conti directly onto Evelyn. The dining room didn't just go silent. It died. The air was sucked out of the room. All that could be heard was the drip, drip, drip of dark, priceless burgundy onto the marble floor, and the heavy, panicked breathing of Mr. Bisset. Evelyn stood frozen. She was drenched from head to toe. The cheap polyester uniform was stained a deep, dark purple. The sticky, sweet-smelling wine dripped from her hair, off her chin, down her neck. Tiffany stood back, the empty bottle still in her hand, her chest heaving. She had a look of wild, triumphant ecstasy on her face. "There," she panted, tossing the bottle onto the floor, where it rolled with a hollow sound. "That's where you belong, covered in the dirt from my shoes, or, in this case, the wine from my table." She turned to Michael. "See, babe, that's how you handle problems." Michael Thorne looked green. He wasn't looking at Tiffany. He wasn't looking at the gasping staff. He was staring at Evelyn, but he wasn't seeing a waitress. He was seeing a lawsuit. He was seeing the end of his career. This was not a black card problem. This was an assault problem. "Tiff," he whispered, his voice cracking, "what did you do?" Evelyn slowly, very slowly, raised her head. The wine dripped from her eyelashes. She didn't look angry. She didn't look humiliated. She looked calculating. She unclipped the Ellie name tag from her sodden apron and let it fall into the puddle at her feet. "Mr. Bissett," she said, her voice no longer the deferential whisper of Ellie, but the clear, cold, commanding tone of Evelyn Rostov. "You are right to call security. You're going to need them, but not for me." She looked past the cowering manager, past the horrified diners, and locked eyes with a man sitting alone at a small table by the bar. He had been there for 3 hours, sipping a single glass of water, observing. He wore a simple, well-cut suit and had the unblinking, patient gaze of a predator. Evelyn gave him the smallest, almost imperceptible nod. The man, Jack, her head of security and personal assistant, folded his newspaper, placed a $100 bill on his table, and began to stand up. The show was over. It was time for the cleanup. Jack moved with an economy of motion that was almost frightening. He wasn't a bouncer. He was a scalpel. He crossed the dining room in 5 silent strides, his eyes never leaving his principal. He was holding his own suit jacket, a dark, impeccably tailored cashmere wool blend. "Ms. Rostov," he said, his voice a low, respectful baritone that cut through the stunned silence. He held the jacket open. Evelyn turned and slid her arms into the silk-lined sleeves, shrugging off the soaked, cheap polyester apron in the same motion. She pulled the jacket closed, the dark cashmere covering the wine-stained uniform. The transformation was instant. The bedraggled Ellie was gone. In her place stood a woman, radiating an authority so absolute it was chilling. The entire restaurant seemed to tilt on its axis. "Ms. Rostov?" Mr. Bissett whispered, his face having cycled through every shade of white and red and now settling on a mottled grey. He knew that name. Everyone in the world of high finance knew that name. Tiffany Vance just laughed, a high, nervous sound. "Oh, come on. Ms. Rostov? What is this? A movie? Did you call your dad? Is he the head janitor?" But Michael Thorne didn't laugh. He was staring at Evelyn, his face a horror mask. The name Rostov, combined with the name he'd been hearing all day, or a capital, had just formed a connection in his brain that sent a jolt of pure, undiluted terror through his system. "Evelyn." "Rostov?" he stammered, the words barely audible. "As in, or a capital?" Evelyn's gaze snapped to him. It was the first time she had truly looked at him all night. Her eyes were not angry. They were worse. They were disappointed. "You're quicker than you look, Michael," she said, her voice dripping with the very wine that stained her clothes. "Though not by much." No, it can't be," Michael babbled, shaking his head. She's a myth. The board said, she's a recluse. No one's ever seen her." "They're not wrong," Evelyn said. "I value my privacy. I find it's the only way to get a truly honest assessment of my acquisitions." The color drained from Michael's face. "Your acquisition?" "Apex Innovations," Evelyn said, as if discussing the weather. "My little passion project from 2 weeks ago. The one you were supposed to be stabilizing. At that exact moment, Michael's phone, which he was still clutching in a white-knuckled grip, buzzed violently. He looked down. The screen was lit up. Caller ID, Aura Capital, David Hayes, lead counsel. Michael let out a small, strangled sound, like a dying animal. His thumb, slick with sweat, fumbled to answer the call. He put it to his ear. "Hello," he whispered. He didn't need to say anything else. A voice, tinny and cold, erupted from the earpiece, loud enough for Evelyn and Tiffany to hear in the silence. "Michael, what in God's name is going on over there? We're getting live reports from Ms. Rostov's security. She's been assaulted. The entire acquisition is off. The morals clause is being invoked. You're fired, Thorne. Your access is already revoked. Your career is over. Do you hear me? Over." Michael Thorne's $5,000 phone slipped from his numb fingers and clattered onto the floor. Tiffany Vance had finally stopped laughing. Her painted-on smile was frozen, her blue eyes wide and unblinking. The gears in her brain were grinding, trying to process a reality that simply did not compute. "Michael," she tried, her voice a small squeak. "Babe, what is he talking about? Ms. Rostov? Aura Capital? This is a joke, right? A really, really sick joke." Evelyn turned her full attention to Tiffany. "This," she said, gesturing to her wine-soaked clothes, "is an $18,000 bottle of wine. This," she gestured to the restaurant, "is my restaurant. And that," she pointed a long, steady finger at the catatonic Michael, "is my former employee. You, Ms. Vance, are not a queen. You are a liability." I, Tiffany stammered, looking from the phone on the floor to Michael to Evelyn. "But you're a waitress. I saw you. You had a name tag." "I did," Evelyn agreed. "A billionaire queen, as your kind so crudely puts it, can be a waitress. But a cruel, entitled, and frankly stupid person like you can only be one thing." "What?" Tiffany whispered. "A defendant," Evelyn said. "Jack?" Jack stepped forward, his own phone in hand. "The police are en route, Miss Rostov. They will be here in 3 minutes to take Ms. Vance's statement." "Statement?" Tiffany shrieked, the reality finally hitting her with the force of a physical blow. "Police? You're calling the cops on me?" "You assaulted an employee," Evelyn said simply. "You destroyed—" "Let's see." She looked at the puddle on the floor. $18,000 in private property. And you caused a public disturbance. I'm not calling the cops on you, Tiffany. I'm serving you. It's what we in the service industry do, after all." "Michael, do something!" Tiffany screamed, grabbing her boyfriend's arm. But Michael Thorne didn't respond. He had sunk into the plush banquette, his eyes vacant, his face completely, utterly, and hopelessly broken. He wasn't a CEO. He wasn't a king. He was just a man who had lost everything because he'd hitched his wagon to the wrong, cruel, diamond-encrusted star. The arrival of the police was, like everything else at L'Étoile d'Or, remarkably discreet. 2 uniformed officers, led by a plain-clothes detective, entered not through the main dining room, but through the staff entrance, guided by Jack. They bypassed the gawking diners and arrived at table 11. "Ma'am?" The detective, a weary-looking man named Sullivan, addressed Evelyn. "I'm told you're the one who called." "I am," Evelyn said, pulling Jack's jacket tighter. "That woman," she pointed at Tiffany, "is Tiffany Vance. She assaulted me and willfully destroyed $18,000 worth of restaurant property. Your officers will find the bottle on the floor, with her fingerprints all over it." "It's a misunderstanding," Tiffany shrieked, her voice cracking. "It was an accident. Tell them, Michael. Tell them it was an accident." Michael Thorne finally moved. He slowly raised his head, his eyes dead. She threw it on purpose, he mumbled. She called her trash. I heard her. The betrayal was total. In his last pathetic act as a CEO, Michael Thorne had chosen self-preservation. He would be the witness, not the accomplice. Tiffany looked at him as if he had stabbed her. Michael. No. Ma'am, Detective Sullivan said to Tiffany, his voice suddenly hard. I'm going to have to ask you to come with us. It's probably best if you say nothing more until you have a lawyer. A lawyer? I don't need a lawyer, she wailed, as one of the officers gently but firmly took her arm. The fight had gone out of her, replaced by a desperate, childish panic. This isn't fair. I'm a model. I'm Tiffany Vance. And I, Evelyn said, am Evelyn Rostov. The names matter, don't they? As the officers escorted a now sobbing Tiffany Vance out through the service hallway, the same way the help came and went, the dining room was left in a stunned, graveyard quiet. Evelyn turned her gaze to the two remaining men at the table. First, Mr. Bissett. He was shaking, clutching his hands together. Miss Rostov, I had no idea. I am so sorry. You're sorry, Evelyn said, her voice flat. What are you sorry for, Mr. Bissett? Are you sorry that you were about to fire me without cause? Are you sorry that your entire management philosophy is to protect the abuser and punish the victim? Or are you just sorry that the waitress you just threw away turned out to be your new boss? Please, Ms. Rostov, my family, he begged. Your family. What about Sarah's family? Evelyn shot back, her voice rising for the first time. What about the families of every staff member you've let people like that walk all over? You're not a manager, Bissett. You're a gatekeeper for a toxic system. She pointed to the exit. Go. Go to the back. Clean out your locker. You're not suspended. You're fired. Bissett looked like he'd been shot. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He gave a strangled sob, turned, and stumbled away. A man who had just lost the one small, petty kingdom he'd ever ruled. Finally, she was left with Michael Thorne. He was still sitting in the booth, a ghost in a Tom Ford suit. Michael, she said. He flinched. Ms. Rostov, I can fix this. The Apex deal. It's solid. The tech is revolutionary. Don't kill the company because of her. Because of me. Evelyn sat down in the chair opposite him, the seat Tiffany had occupied. She was still a mess, her hair matted with wine, wearing a man's jacket. But she was, without question, the only person with any power in the entire building. I'm not killing the company, Michael. I bought the company. It's mine. The tech is brilliant. Your leadership, however, she leaned in, is non-existent. I was stressed, he whispered. The board, Aura Capital, they've been silent. We've been in the dark. I didn't know what was happening. What was happening, Evelyn said, is that I was waiting. I was watching. I wanted to see what kind of man the CEO of my new multi-billion-dollar acquisition was. And what did I see? She leaned back. I saw a man who is so weak, so insecure, that he lets a child in a diamond dress lead him around by the nose. I saw a man who would rather watch his girlfriend assault a member of the staff than risk a small, personal confrontation. I saw a man who, when given a choice between a human being and a black card, chose the plastic. Apex Innovations doesn't need a king, Michael. It needs a leader, and you're not even a good boyfriend. You're just a hollow suit. She stood up. David Hayes, my lawyer, was not exaggerating. Your contract is terminated, effective immediately, under the morals and gross negligence clauses. Security is already on their way to your office to pack your things. They will escort you out of your building." Michael just nodded, his eyes fixed on a wine stain on the tablecloth. He had nothing left to say. "Oh," Evelyn added, turning back. "One last thing." He looked up, a tiny, desperate spark of hope in his eyes. "The bill for the 2005 Romane Conti. You'll be receiving it at your home address. I'll be taking it out of your severance." The spark died. Evelyn turned and walked away, her head held high, leaving Michael Thorne alone in the wreckage of his life. Evelyn walked to the center of the silent dining room. The other patrons were all staring, some with their phones half raised, though Jack's menacing gaze kept them from filming. The entire staff, waiters, busboys, sommeliers, even the chefs in their white toques, were standing in the doorway to the kitchen, their faces a mixture of terror and awe. Evelyn looked at them, this small, battered army she had, up until tonight, been a part of. "My name," she said, her voice clear and carrying to every corner of the room, "is Evelyn Rostov. I am the owner of Aura Capital, which, as of 6 months ago, is the 100% owner of the Golden Spire Hospitality Group. This is my restaurant." A collective gasp. "I came here 3 weeks ago, under the name Ellie, to find out why this flagship property was failing its people. Tonight, I got my answer, in a very dramatic fashion." A small, nervous laugh rippled through the staff. "Mr. Bissett," she continued, "has been relieved of his duties, effective immediately." This time, the sound was one of stunned silence. "From this moment on, things are going to change," Evelyn said. "First, to all of our guests tonight." She turned to the room at large. "Your meals are, of course, complimentary. On behalf of the Golden Spire Group, I apologize for the dinner theatre. Please, finish your meals in peace." She turned back to the staff. "Second, for the staff, the restaurant is closing for the night. Jack will handle compensating the remaining patrons. Everyone, please, gather in the main staff room. I want to talk to you. All of you." 10 minutes later, the dining room was empty and the staff room was packed. It was a small, windowless space that smelled of bleach and coffee. Evelyn stood in front of them, still in her damp clothes and Jack's jacket. "First," she said, her eyes finding Sarah in the crowd. "Sarah." Sarah, the tired single mum, flinched. "Yes, ma'am." "Ms. Rostov?" "You're a damn good waitress," Evelyn said, "but you're a better leader. You helped me, you trained me, and you did it with kindness, even when you were exhausted. As of tomorrow, you are the new acting floor manager for L'Étoile d'Or. You'll receive a 40% pay increase, full management benefits, and Aura Capital will be handling your son's childcare expenses, permanently." Sarah's hands flew to her mouth, tears instantly welling in her eyes. I, Ms. Rostov, I don't—" "Just say yes, Sarah," Evelyn said, a small, genuine smile gracing her lips. Yes, thank you," Sarah sobbed, laughing at the same time. Evelyn's smile faded. "Now, for the rest. What happened tonight was a failure. It was my failure. I bought a company, and I didn't look closely enough at the people. I let a culture fester that believed a customer's black card was worth more than an employee's dignity. That ends today. Starting tomorrow, the Golden Spire Group is being restructured. From now on, any client, I don't care if they are a king, a CEO, or a president, who lays a hand on or verbally abuses a member of our staff will be banned. For life. From all 21 properties. No exceptions, no appeals. The customer, she said, is not always right. A decent human being is. A wave of applause, tentative at first, then thunderous, filled the small room. "Furthermore," she shouted over the noise, "these uniforms are being burned. You are professionals, and you will be given a wardrobe that reflects that. A budget of 2,000 goblins per employee will be allocated for new, bespoke uniforms. And finally, for tonight, all of you. You had to witness a disgusting display. You all deserve more. Every single person on shift tonight will receive a one-time bonus. Let's call it the Romane Conti bonus of $18,000. Each." The room exploded. People were screaming, crying, hugging each other. The rot that Evelyn had smelled was being power-washed away in a flood of justice. And, yes, a truly staggering amount of money. Evelyn watched them, her heart, for the first time in a long time, feeling full. She wasn't just a billionaire queen. She was a boss. And this is what a boss was supposed to do. The weeks that followed were a quiet explosion. The story of the waitress and the wine did not just leak, it detonated. Jack, Evelyn's head of security, confirmed it on his tablet a mere 12 hours after the incident. A diner, sitting in a quiet corner booth, had indeed managed to film the entire horrifying exchange, from Tiffany's first polyester jibe to the final spectacular splash of the Romane Conti. The video was shaky, the audio muffled by gasps, but it was damning. It went from a private TikTok to a viral Reddit thread, and by morning, it was the lead story on every major news outlet. Headlines screamed, "CEO's girlfriend's $18,000 assault," and more famously, "The billionaire queen in the polyester apron." The ghost of Wall Street was a ghost no longer. Evelyn Rostov had a face, a name, and a hell of a story. For a woman who had built an empire from the shadows, the sudden, intense glare of the global spotlight was jarring. But as she watched the story unfold from her penthouse, she realized it wasn't a liability. It was an asset. The billionaire queen, a name she had once despised, was now being used as a term of respect, a symbol of power used for good. The fate of Tiffany. Vance Tiffany's downfall was as swift as it was public. She was charged with assault, vandalism, and, in a creative legal move by David Hayes, willful destruction of corporate assets. Faced with the viral video, Michael Thorne's testimony, a pathetic, last-ditch attempt at self-preservation, and the collective witness of the entire dining room, her legal team didn't stand a chance. Her Envy perfume line was dropped by every major retailer within 48 hours, its name now a bitter irony. Her modeling contracts evaporated. No luxury brand wanted to be associated with an image of such cartoonish, ugly entitlement. She became a pariah, a living meme for Karen on steroids. She pled down to a massive 6-figure fine, which nearly bankrupted her, 500 hours of community service, and court-mandated anger management. The paparazzi found her a month later, not on a red carpet, but in a rainy park in the Bronx, wearing a pair of $1,000 Balenciaga trainers and a fluorescent orange vest, angrily stabbing at stray Starbucks cups with a trash picker. A passing teenager recognized her, shouting, "Hey, aren't you the wine toss girl?" Tiffany, her face a mask of rage and humiliation, reportedly threw the trash picker at them, an act that added another 100 hours to her sentence. The fate of Michael Thorne. Michael vanished. As Evelyn had promised, he was terminated under the morals and gross negligence clauses, which voided his golden parachute and all his unvested stock in Apex Innovations. The $18,000 for the bottle of wine was indeed the final line item on his last severance check. He was blacklisted. No board would touch him. No VC firm would fund him. He was the man who, through his weakness and cowardice, had let his girlfriend assault the new owner of his company. He was a case study in failed leadership. The last anyone heard, he had moved to Wilmington, Delaware, and was attempting to rebrand himself as a crypto strategist, operating out of a noisy, shared WeWork space. He still wore his old Tom Ford suits, but they looked different now. A hollow costume on a hollow man, haunted by the ghost of the king he thought he was. The fate of Mr. Bissett. True to his nature, Mr. Bissett tried to sue. He filed a claim for wrongful termination, emotional distress, and defamation. The case lasted less than a day. David Hayes, Evelyn's lead counsel, didn't even have to speak. He simply submitted Bisset's personnel file, which, now that staff felt safe, was overflowing. It contained 11 sworn affidavits from current and former staff, detailing Bisset's history of management by fear, his willingness to sacrifice staff, and his specific, repeated habit of ignoring harassment claims against high-rolling clients. When presented with the evidence and the video of him firing his new boss, Bisset's own lawyer advised him to drop the suit before Evelyn countersued him personally. He slunk out of the courthouse, a man defeated by the very system he had worshipped. The rise of Sarah. But the real story, the one that mattered to Evelyn, was the one that happened inside the Golden Spire. The $18,000 Romane Conti bonus was a legend, but the real change was structural. 6 weeks after the incident, Sarah, the former single mother waitress, stood in the main boardroom at Aura Capital's headquarters. She was no longer in polyester. She wore a sharp, dark blue pantsuit that Evelyn's personal tailor had fitted for her. She was visibly nervous, standing before a 50-foot marble table surrounded by stone-faced executives in 10,000 drosses, suits. At the head of the table, Evelyn watched, silent. Sarah was presenting her Staff First initiative. The problem at L'Etoile, Sarah began, her voice trembling slightly, wasn't the clientele. It was the culture. We were trained to believe that we were replaceable. We were taught that our dignity was less valuable than a black card. One of the executives, a man named Henderson, cleared his throat. Ms. Miller, while we appreciate the rustic insight, the numbers are why I'm here, Sarah said, her voice suddenly finding its steel. She'd faced down Tiffany Vance. She was not afraid of Henderson. Our turnover rate in the last fiscal year was 85%. That cost us $1.4 million in recruitment, training, and errors. My Staff First proposal is not a perk. It's an investment. She clicked to the next slide. First, the Code Red policy. Any guest who verbally abuses, harasses, or touches a staff member is given one warning. A second offense, or any physical contact, results in a permanent, group-wide ban. No appeals. The system is managed by me, not by the floor manager. Henderson scoffed. You want to ban our highest spending clients? I want to ban our most toxic clients, Sarah countered, and I'm not done. Second, the child care stipend. We have 34 employees in this restaurant alone with children. We'll pay for their child care, all of it. Happy, secure parents make for focused, happy employees. She clicked again. Third, profit sharing. 5% of all quarterly profits will be divided equally among all non-management staff. They build the restaurant's success. They will share in its success. She took a deep breath. This isn't about being nice. This is about creating a fortress. A team so secure, so respected, and so well compensated that they can offer a level of service no other restaurant in the world can touch. We won't just be a 3-star restaurant. We'll be a legend. The room was silent. Henderson looked at his spreadsheet, annoyed. Then Evelyn spoke, her voice quiet. Henderson, what do you think?" "I think," Henderson said, "that the costs are significant. It's sentimental." "It's not sentimental, sir," Sarah said. "It's the new cost of doing business. The BSET model, the customer is king model, that cost us $18,000 for a single bottle of wine. My model costs less, and it saves us our soul." Evelyn Rostov smiled, a wide, genuine smile. "Gentlemen," she said to the table, "I want to thank you for coming, and I'd like to introduce you to the new Director of Operations for the entire Golden Spire Hospitality Group, Sarah Miller. Henderson, you will be in charge of securing the funding for her entire proposal. Every line item. Is that clear?" Henderson just nodded, his face pale. The New Kingdom, L'Etoile d'Or, under Sarah's direct management, became the hardest reservation to get in the world. The service was legendary, not because it was obsequious, but because it was confident. The staff, all dressed in elegant, bespoke uniforms they had designed themselves, were happy. They were partners, and it showed. Turnover dropped to 0. Profits, after the initial investment, soared by 40%. The Code Red policy was only used twice. The word had gotten out. You do not mess with the staff at L'Etoile d'Or. Evelyn never went undercover again. She didn't need to. The billionaire queen had a new face. She was on the cover of Forbes, not as a ghost, but as the architect of the new workplace. She had learned her lesson. A company wasn't a spreadsheet. It was a collection of people. It was a community. She stood on her penthouse balcony, looking down at the city. She could just see the warm glow of her restaurant. Her phone buzzed. It was an alert from Sarah. "Q3 profits are in. We're up another 12%. You're not going to believe the new training idea." Evelyn smiled and dialed. "Sarah," she said, as the call picked up. "It's Evelyn. I just saw your note. It's brilliant." "Yes, but I do have one more crazy idea. What do you think about—" The Queen was in her castle, and for the first time, all was right in the kingdom. And so, the reign of the cruel girlfriend came to a crashing end, and the billionaire queen built a new, better kingdom from the ashes. This story is a powerful reminder that the uniform doesn't make the person. The person who serves you your coffee, the waitress who brings your meal, the janitor who cleans the office. They are all people. They all have stories, and they all deserve respect. You never, ever know who you're talking to. The person you dismiss as trash might just own the entire company. What did you think of Tiffany's downfall? Was Michael just as guilty? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We've all seen injustice at work, and we all love a story where the bully gets what they deserve. Thank you for watching. If you loved this story, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to see it, and be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell for more real-life drama and karma stories just like this one.